Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And let's get started. Move my thing off my chair. Let's get started with the word. So, Jesus was in an area called Gennesaret, and that is in Mark, I believe, 7. So maybe it's the book of, no, it was probably 6. So he did a lot of healing. A lot of people brought people to him to be healed. And so we're going to pick up in Mark 8. Okay? In those days, the multitude being very great and having nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples unto him and saith unto them, I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now been with me 3 days and had nothing to eat. That was with him for 3 days and they had nothing to eat for 3 days. Just, I imagine that's the thing that happens when you spend time with Jesus. you know, you don't think about it, and then it's just something about spending time with the Lord that fulfills you. So at that time, they probably wasn't thinking about food, because they were getting fulfilled with so much knowledge and so much, so much gift, because Jesus is a gift that gives, and somehow it fulfills you. And so after 3 days, they had nothing to eat. And if I send them, we're in verse 3, chapter 8 of Mark, and if I send them away fasting to their own houses, they will faint by the way, for divers of them came from far. So some of them came from really, really, really far places just to hear him preach. And they were with him for 3 days. And his disciples answered him, from whence can a man satisfy these men with bread here in the wilderness? And I just think, even with the disciples' answer, these people just went 3 days with nothing to eat. You got to see the miracle in that. Most people can't even go a day without eating. They probably would have found their way back home. And he asked them, how many loaves have ye? And they said, 7. And he commanded the people to sit down on the ground, and he took 7 loaves and gave thanks and brake and gave to his disciples to set before them. And they did set them before the people. And they had a few small fish, and he blessed and commanded to set them also before them. And I just think about this time that, we're in, where things are getting a little scarce, and uncertainties of, your next meal at times, some people might have to feed a multitude of people as Jesus did. And so and we look forward to those miracles, as Jesus has shown this miracle of feeding a multitude of little food available, but somehow it was possible. And they had a few small fish, and he blessed and commanded to set them also before them. So they did eat and were filled, and they took up of the broken meat that was 7 baskets. They had leftovers. So they started off with not enough, but ended up with leftovers. Talk about a miracle. Amazing. And they that had eaten were about 4,000. He sent them away. And straightway he entered into the ship with the disciples and came into the parts of Dalmanuta. It sounds familiar because I did read this when I was gonna post the other time. But for some reason, this technology sometimes just don't want to work for you. I don't know why, but we work with what we have, right? Some of us learn to do that. And we push on. And so, with that being said, let's go to verse 11. So they went in the parts of Damanuta, and the Pharisees came forth and began to question with him, seeking of him a sign from heaven, tempting him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and say, why doeth this generation seek after a sign? Verily I say to you, truly I say to you, there shall no sign be given unto this generation. And he left them, and entering into the ship again, departed to the other side. So let's look at that. The Pharisees came forth, and they began to question him, seeking of him a sign from heaven. So they want to know who he really is. He come doing all this stuff. Like, who are you really? Give us a sign that you're the Son of God. And he's like, this generation will get no sign. So, verse 13, and he left them, and entering into the ship again departed to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to take bread, neither had they in the ship with them more than 1 loaf. And he charged them, saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of the Herod. So he's warning them, the disciples, about the Pharisees not right, and Herod's not right either. Their heart's not right either, And in verse 16, he says, and they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we had no bread. So the disciples not understanding at this time what he's talking about. They thought he's talking about literally bread. And he's like, no. Like, no. Verse 17. And when Jesus knew it, he said unto them, why reason ye because ye have no bread? Perceive ye not yet? You understand yet? Neither understand. Have you your heart yet hardened? Having eyes, see ye not? having ears, hear ye not? And do ye not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves among the 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments took ye up? They say unto him, 12. And when he had 7 among the 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments took ye up? And he said, 7. So he fed a multitude 2 different occasions. They didn't have enough food, but somehow they fed them all and had leftovers. And he's saying, did you not see the miracle that was performed, and you're asking me about bread? And I'm telling you about the Pharisees and Herod, to beware of their, how do you say, wickedness. Yeah, their wickedness. Because their character was definitely wicked. And their heart is definitely not right. Be aware of those. So he used, leavened bread and unleavened bread, knowing the difference between the two, like the one has addition added to it to make it turn into some, a different kind of bread. And then the other one has nothing added, And so that's what he was saying about the Pharisees. If one understands. So, again, he said, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And leaven it has add on to it, It don't come straightforward. It's not straightforward. It got some additions in it. And he said unto them, how is it that ye do not understand? And he cometh to Bethsaida, and they bring a blind man unto him, and besought him to touch him. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw aught. I wouldn't say saw anything. And I'm in the King James Version, and he looked up and said, I see men as trees walking. After that, he put his hands again upon his eyes and made him look again. Made him look up, and he was restored and saw everything, men clearly. So, there was a blind man. He spit on his eyes and put his hands up on him. And some men feel like, why he spit on him? You know what I'm saying? But knowing who he is, that the holy water flows through him, through his blood. You can give me a little spit, Lord. I'll take a little spit. I'll take a little healing spit. Yes, I would. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good God. And so the first time he didn't say clearly. It's a little gray. You know how things can be a little gray. He said, I see, men as trees. But then as he put his hands again upon his eyes, and he made him look up, and he was restored, and he saw everything clearly. So if you're in a gray area and you don't see things clearly, keep up. Keep going until things are clear to you. How that there's one song, it's a song that say, oh gosh, what is that song about looking up? Or keep your head to the sky. How does that song go? But it's like a motivational song, and it's saying to keep going and keep your eyes on God, you know? So you can understand, have that understanding, as we just read in a couple of these scriptures where the understanding wasn't clear. You got the ones that's antagonizing him and everything like that, and like, show us a sign, show us a sign. He's like, you not getting no sign. And then you got the disciples. It's like not understanding clearly, yet they thinking worldly. You know, he literally was not talking about bread. And then you have the blind man who couldn't see at all, you know, and the miracle of the blind man. Um, yeah, he couldn't see. Then he was in a gray area, like he still couldn't see clearly. But one more time, and there it is. And so after the miracle happened, Jesus, he sent them away to his house, saying, neither go into the town nor tell it to any in the town. And so, it seemed as though Jesus was not like trying to be like, oh, look what I could do. I could do this. He wasn't bragful. He was humble. And he knew the more people that knew about him, he was not going to be able to really move like he wanted to. It just seems as though there were so many people that needed him. And the more they find out, when the word spread from region to region, it was like, they was looking for him. Can you imagine how people was looking for him? Because they had so much things going on in their life that they needed some miracles to happen. And he walked the earth during this time that they could actually go find them and get healing or deliverance. Is so many. Multitudes came to listen to him. Multitudes came to listen to him. Where were the leaders? Where were the healers? So he says, don't tell anybody. He said, don't tell nobody. And then Jesus went out and his disciples into the towns of Caesarea, Caesarea, I don't know, Philippi. And by the way, he asked his disciples, saying unto them, who do men say that I am? And they answered, John the Baptist. But some say Elias, and others one of the prophets. And he said unto them, but whom say ye that I am? And Peter answereth and say unto him, thou art the Christ. And he charged them that they should tell no man of him. So Peter, he was just not even getting the understanding of the bread. It went over his head. But God showed him that this was Christ. Peter understood that. It was revealed to him. And he began to teach them. And the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected of the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be unalive, and after 3 days rise again. So he began to teach them a lot of things, as their journey was of teaching. Our journey is of teaching. That's what the word is. The world dwelled among them. They didn't know him, but then the word dwelled among them. And so he's teaching them that what's going to happen in the future. And that he's going to be rejected. Of the leaders. These are the leaders. They rejected him. People follow leaders these days. And they're in church. They're in the state, the feds. They're in high positions, and people go along with what they say because they believe in the things that they say. And these leaders have followers. Sounds like our today's social media. They have followers. And people believe in what they say. So my question that I just, in my head right now is like, but what you saw was evidence. And what was the evidence of their teaching? Was it all just traditions? Even one of the councils, Nicodemus, he was intrigued. He went and seen him in the night and say, I know, there's something about you. And he inquired because he wanted to know more. But you know, some people, their heart is closed and they're like, no, it's not what the scriptures say. This man comes from Nazareth. He's supposed to be coming from Bethlehem, from David, you know, from the how do you say? Well, you know, David, you know. And so this they you know, but even Nicodemus asked that question. Isn't it worth finding out what harm has he done? He's done, let's see, what has he done so far? He's taught multitude 3 days. People out there this man had some knowledge and some stuff that people wanted that near drew people near. I'm sorry. I ain't going to see nobody in no concert, and I definitely ain't finna go see nobody for no 3 days. You know, it's gotta be something special about a person for me to go see him 3 days and not even eat. So, yeah, make you think. And so, and he spoke that saying openly, and Peter took him and began to rebuke him. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, Get thee behind me, Satan, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but the things that be of men. And when he had called the people unto him with his disciples also, he said unto them, Whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? The soul is uneven priceable, like you can't even price it. What could you give for that? Something so precious. Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. So what has Jesus done for you to be ashamed of? If you know what is called the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Holy